satellite are 14 megawatts for transmission and instrumentation. MASA will be using a Hyperion power module as the nuclear fuel, which can output 25 megawatts of electrical power. The Hyperion power module is a small modular nuclear reactor that contains uranium nitride. MASA will also be using a modified, safe, affordable fission engine designed and tested by NASA and the Jet Propulsion Lab. It is a heat pipe power system reactor that has proved to be very reliable and relatively inexpensive. Because currently designed safe models do not have the necessary power, the Hyperion power module will provide the fuel source. By using systems that have already been developed, the design time and cost will be minimized. Both the Hyperion power module and safe, affordable fission engine reactor systems have minimal radiation effects, so the damage to the instruments are not a concern. Travel time to the exoplanet is significantly greater than the lifetime of the power system. To ensure that the power system will not start prematurely, the satellite will be launched with the fuel separated from the reactor core. A passive neutron spectral shift and in-core neutron absorbers will provide additional measures. The fuel will be released into the core to begin fission for electric power production once the satellite reaches Epsilon Eridani.
I'm here to discuss the resilience of electronics from spacecraft point of view that the MASA engineers took into care. Space is one of the most extreme environments imaginable above the insulating atmosphere of the Earth. The spacecraft is subjected to extreme vibration, shocks, extreme environments, and the increased threat of radiation damage. As you know that the electronics can have shocks and vibration on its way to its destination. The temperatures can be extreme from very low like -200 or -300 to a multitude of hundreds like 130 when it's going around the sun. So the MASA engineers try to incorporate the system in order to cool down the system when it's near the hot portions, and also to keep the system warm when it's in the very cold regions. The workmanship has been emphasized for the quality, and it has been thoroughly checked and tested. And also it has been made sure that the electronics is electromagnetic compatibility, and one electronic system does not interfere with the other electronic systems, the RFI and the other things. Radiation hardening has been thoroughly studied. It has been categorized into different categories, and we have also catered for the meteor showers that may be encountered on our way to the our destination. These are the major damage resources. There can cosmic rays which can damage the electronics. We have solar particle events. We have Van Allen radiation belts and nuclear radiation. The details of all these damage resources plus the tests and everything is available on the MASA website, and how we try to cater for the hardening of the electronics. Radiation hardening techniques, there are many, but we have listed few like better choice of substrate, shielding against the interference sources and against the solar or nuclear radiations. We have thermal coating on the ICs and all the systems and the boards, and we have better quality of ICs and the components inside the MASA spacecraft. Few of the tests that we ran through before that we are planning, or we had already gone through before launching our satellite, is we had our spacecraft went through low and high pressure testing, altitude testing, temperature shocks testing under extreme environments that can be predicted. On its way to its destination, we went through solar radiation testing, sandblasting in order to simulate the environment of meteor showers. We had nuclear radiation testing, shocks and vibration testing. We also tried we tried to keep redundancy in the systems so as to that it is auto-configurable, so as if one system fails, the other system takes over automatically. And that's how we try to keep the resilience of the systems and the electronics as a whole. Thank you.
In order for the satellite probe to Epsilon Eridani to communicate back to Earth, we have an extreme path length of 10.5 light years, which results in well over negative 330 dB of path loss. However, we intend to counter this by using large antennas with about a 75-meter radius to go ahead and increase antenna gain to approximately 45 dB on each end. This, coupled with approximately 15.85 megawatts of power, or 72 dBW, will give us approximately 1 dB above our noise floor, received at our relay satellite located just outside our solar system. Data transmissions are going to be coded with a 1/2 rate 18 iteration turbo code and transmitted at a rate of 40 bits per second. This converts to a real data rate of about 20 bits per second since we're using BPSK. In order to account for Doppler shift, we've significantly narrowed the bandwidth at the receiver satellite. This minus the 40 hertz of bandwidth for transmission results in a safety zone of about 340 hertz to account for Doppler shift, which at our frequency of 150 megahertz converts to about a top speed of 340 meters per second away from or towards the Earth.
The propulsion and trajectory of our spacecraft will go through many phases until it reaches Epsilon Eridani. We'll begin in low Earth orbit for assembly, and then use chemical rockets and quasi-slingshot around Earth to get ourselves to Jupiter. This period will last about 5 years. We'll use Jupiter as an orbital slingshot to give us some extra velocity, and we're estimating an initial velocity of 18.5 kilometers per second exiting Jupiter. At that point, we'll initiate our propulsion system for the majority of the travel time. We'll use ion thruster using xenon. This is modeled after NASA's current prototype NEXT Next ion thruster. We're estimating twice their specs for specific impulse and thrust. So we're estimating about 10,000 seconds of specific impulse and half a newton of thrust. For about 200 years, we'll be using this propulsion system to get us up to 33 kilometers per second. Over that 200 years, we'll be powering the system using 34 kilograms of uranium-238, which will provide at least 5,000 kilowatts of power for that time. The travel time will be about 96,000 years to arrive at Epsilon Eridani, at which point we'll use our ion thruster powered by a fission reactor to slow down for about 150 years to get to our speed of 3.34 kilometers per second. We'll enter an eccentric orbit around Epsilon Eridani with an eccentricity of about 0.99. During this time, we'll be able to transmit to our Earth receiver over this period when the velocity is either very low, going away from Earth, or perpendicular to Earth, so that we are not incurring much Doppler shift.
So the budget and timeline for our project has us for research and development would be approximately 5 years. We anticipate a launch time of 15 years, 2025. So the probe would be traveling and then would have a deceleration process of 150 years. It would reach Epsilon Eridani at the end of the deceleration phase. The relay satellite launch would be approximately around 95,231 years. We'll begin receiving data from our probe named Fortuna 1, 95,240 year. The lifespan of this probe would be from about 95,240 to 95,390. Our approximate budget would be $15 billion for the entire project.